Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. Coming at you with some decks for the Legend Anthology. This is going to be the other event going on, festival going on this month, and it's anime based, as in a lot of the decks that are legal and at full power are going to be those that were featured primarily in the various Yu-Gi-Oh animes. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you 5 different decks that you can play for this event that are not only already competitively very good in the current regular meta, but they're actually still at full power or very, very close to full power in the Legend Anthology event. So we're going to be taking a look at those. I'll show you the deck list that I've put together, and they'll do a fair bit better than, you know, some of these loaners might for you. To be fair, I don't think the Rocket Loaner in particular is like completely terrible, although I'm not sure about some of the trap card choices. I know they're from, you know, the guy who played them in the anime, but we're going to show you some pretty powerful deck lists here for the event. Before we get into it real quick, I'd give a huge shout out to our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers up top. We always shout them out by name at the end of every video in the end credits. However, I also wanted to give some attention to them up here at the top as well, because they do so much for us here on the channel with their very generous support. If you want to see YouTube content early as it's uploaded rather than when it gets released, then you can join as a member. It's going to be next to the subscribe button down below. And if you want to see exclusive content, we have a few exclusive uploads here on YouTube, but a lot of the exclusive content is going to be over on patreon.com/Hexlex, where I upload 3 times a week, and that's all exclusive content, nothing that gets posted over here on YouTube. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, make sure to check out those options. And thank you again to those supporters. But for now, let's get into some of the deck lists for the Legend Anthology. All right, for our first deck list here, I actually wanted to cover an option that I think is not only really solid in terms of its power level, but also a pretty good budget option. That's going to be Onomat Utopia, which is going to be the rank 4 deck based around Utopia and the various Onomatopoeia archetypes. Basically, Yuma's deck from the Zexal anime, but in its most competitive form. And this deck is a good budget option because, of course, the Future to Zero structure deck recently was released here in Master Duel, and if you pick up 2 copies of that, as well as craft just a few UR cards that are specific for the deck, then you will have this very good deck for the event. Now, I've already kind of demonstrated what this deck can do in my recent free-to-play video, wherein we mainly focused on building an upgraded Zero to Future structure deck. It was still a little bit budget though. This is definitely more of like a full power deck. Even then, some of the URs here, if you're operating on more of a budget, are pretty optional at the end of the day. I think that Utopia Dragonar is definitely needed, but something like Utopia Rising I think is very optional. But as mentioned, if you buy 2 of the Utopia structure decks, then the only other things that you would need to craft are those 2 URs I mentioned, the F-Zeros, and then your rank 8s like Hope Harbinger and Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord that you summon with the Utopia Dragonar. There's also some rank 4s like Tornado Dragon that are URs, but I think these end up being really optional. There are also a lot of good budget options that I'm playing here, not just because they're budget, but because they're good as well, like the number 106 Giant Hand and the Photon Popple Operative. Here in my build, I'm not playing the Utopia Double or Nothing, but if you are looking for another OTK option, that can very easily be slotted in here as well. Another really nice thing about the Onomat Utopia deck is that it's super consistent with 3 of each spell starters pick up, which searches Para, and then Para searches multiple cards. But we also have playsets of things like Goblinberg and the Dodododo Warrior. And I don't even have in this build the Zubaba Knight, which is another pretty decent starter that you could play. You know what, I'm going to slot it in here, and then we'll drop like one of the Triple Tactics talent. Now, one thing that is pretty notable about this event is that there are a couple of hand traps that aren't legal, mostly just Maxi, but also like the Psy-Frame cards. However, Call By and Crossout are both banned. So you're going to be seeing 1 to 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent in not just this deck, but pretty much all of the decks I'm going to feature moving forward. I think in formats where Call By and Crossout are banned, Triple Tactics Talent becomes one of your best next ways to respond to hand traps. It won't negate them like the other quick play spells I mentioned, but you can draw a couple of cards to find an extender, you can look at your opponent's hand and rip another hand trap or their starting plays, and of course it also works as a board breaker as well, being able to take control of opponent's monsters when they go first and they have things to steal. So it ends up being a really nice spell card in general, of course, but we're definitely going to want to rock it in a lot of our Legend Anthology decks. So again, if you are looking for a solid budget option that only requires 1,000 gem plus maybe a UR or 2 worth of investment, I think Onomat Utopia is an excellent place to start. Now that said, there are some decks where they are available at full power, will require a bit more of a UR investment if you don't already own them, but if you do, you can definitely take advantage of Hero being at full power for the event. Now I am not a Hero player in the slightest, so this deck list is basically just an amalgamation of a bunch of really good and popular Hero lists, but yeah, I think that Hero does end up being a really, really good option because, as mentioned, it's at full power. Like, you can just play full power Hero. There is nothing hit in, like, the extra deck that they would generically go into that isn't available here. No, it's all up for grabs. So, if you already own a Hero deck, this might just be your best bet as far as what to play for the event. It might just be one of the strongest options around. Of course, Hero is capable of putting out some very terrifying end boards with a lot of the new support, you know, with the Contrast Hero Chaos being an Omni Negate. Of course, we have the new favorite heroes in here as well, the Flame Wingman and Shining Flare Wingman. And on top of that, we still have, of course, all of the other pre-existing hero support that came out before it. Yeah, even things like Vert Anaconda are still legal here, which makes sense because Predaplant is an anime archetype, but yeah, Hero is just one of those decks where if you have it already, then you're coasting easily this month for gems and festivals, right? Not only here in the Legend Anthology, but of course also back in the Fusion Cup, Hero was also pretty prominent. I've seen a lot of people say that they're not too happy about this, mostly because Hero does tend to end on a number of floodgates, such as Plasma, such as Dark Law, and as mentioned, it can even add the Contrast Hero Chaos Omni Negate to that end board on top of it, which is a lot to play through, especially in a format where you're either playing a deck you might not usually because you know what you usually play isn't legal for the event, or you're playing sort of a nerfed version of a deck that you might be a little bit more used to, again, because of the event. Yeah, it can definitely be really frustrating to play into Hero's end board, through all those circumstances. But again, that just means if you've already got Hero, you should definitely take advantage of it. Hero does have a structure deck, but of course it's worth noting that a lot of the more recent support, like Miracle Ejector, and what's another UR that's not in the structure deck? I'm pretty sure Hero Lives is actually not in the structure deck. Mainly those in Miracle Ejector. There's going to be quite a few URs that you'll need to pick up if you're starting from scratch and building it from the structure deck. However, again, if you already have Hero, definitely just run it for this event and you'll have as easy of a time as you did in the Fusion Cup. All right, continuing in our trend of decks that just did not get touched at all by the event ban list is DDD. Now, the support that this archetype got for follow-up was a couple of months ago. I think it was actually a few months ago now, a little while ago, definitely for sure, but that definitely doesn't mean that the archetype is, weaker than a lot of other things that have come out since. DDD is one of those decks where it's really, really solid. It's just a matter of like how many people are actually playing it in a given meta. And as you can see, we did get to add the recently introduced Dominus Spark to the list. Ooh, the Dark Contract there ended up being banned. I didn't notice that. We could just throw in like another Dominus Impulse or something. But yeah, that Dark Contract is banned, and also the Kali Yuga is not legal. Those are the two hits to DDD, which are noticeable. Those are like your more floodgatey parts of the end board, but it's not like you're reliant on those in order to seal the game. You still have access to a lot of your most important stuff, literally all of your other stuff besides just those two cards, like the Deus Machina. If you want to finish people off, you still got the Dimensional King Arc Crisis, and all of your starters are still at full power, full consistency here as well. Yeah, DDD is actually pretty comparable to Hero in a lot of ways in terms of like how the follow-up support helped it, where, you know, it kind of made the combo line a lot more streamlined while also adding a lot more oomph behind it. I think it was a lot more noticeable for DDD though, which got all the support at once, as opposed to Hero, which is like constantly getting a drip feed of support at any, you know, given moment. But yeah, like I said, DDD is a pretty good choice for the event if you already own the deck. I don't know if it's something I would necessarily go out of my way to craft if I didn't already own it, although that's pretty much true for any festival. I don't think it's worth like fully investing in a deck unless I was already about to make it anyway, just to play it in a festival. But yeah, as far as like scary end boards and being at pretty much full power, DDD is a pretty good bet if it's a deck you already own for sure. All right, you want to talk about decks that got recent support that are also really, really good in this event. That's going to be Predaplant. Naturally, it got some in-archetype support, as well as the Princess Dracania, which has been helping it out very, very much. And yeah, Predaplant's been having a pretty good showing on Ranked Ladder, and as a result, I would expect it to more than qualify for a good competitive deck to use here in the event. Super Poly is at 2, Instant Fusion is legal, so your Preda Primitive has all of its best targets to search, and like some of the other decks we've already talked about, or I guess DD specifically, can also make use of the new Dominus Spark as well. But for the extra deck here, there was no compromising at all. Everything was pretty much fully legal for, not even pretty much, it was just all fully legal for the deck here. And again, we see Vert Anaconda being used because it is a Predaplant card, which does mean it falls within the anime-specific archetype here. Yeah, I don't know. Not really much else to say that I haven't already said about a lot of these other decks. Do you own Predaplant? Then you should use it for the event because, again, it's all legal, pretty much at full power. You'll be able to set up the same end boards that you were able to on Ranked Ladder. Now, of the 5 decks I'm going to talk about, this one definitely has the most amount of changes you have to make to like the combo line, what the end board looks like, and it's going to be Magnet Warrior. You might be a little bit surprised at first to be like, really, Magnet Warrior? I mean, Yugi played, you know, the original Magnet Warriors, but you also got to remember that a lot of these newer Magnet Warriors were also in the GX anime. Bastion played them. Stuff like the Plus, Minus, and Plasma Conduction, you know, warriors. Those are all, that's all Bastion stuff. So it's an anime deck twice over. And as a result, a lot more of it is legal than I thought was going to be. Not just Magnet Warrior cards, but Block Dragon and the Adamancipator tuners are actually legal here. So you have all of the necessary tools in the main deck to spit out a pretty scary end board. However, the extra deck is where things definitely start to slip a little bit, as Naturia Beast specifically was banned. Barkion is still legal, which is kind of funny. I include it here just because. We've also got Borreload Savage Dragon, because I think this deck can make 8 relatively easily since we're playing Adamancipator Analyzer, but I don't know how often you'd be able to go into that as well as Baron while also having already made Link plays. Some of our Link monsters here are also not going to be legal, namely the Curious Lightsworn Dominion, I think it's called, the Lightsworn Link 3 that mills any monster, where Protocus is legal, but not that. So you can't use that to set up plays. I've kind of compromised by including like Access Code Talker, which can help you OTK a little bit easier. I will definitely say that of all of the deck lists that we've discussed here today, this is the one that, like I said, not only has the most changes, but as a result is the one that I'm least certain on, mainly in what the end board is going to realistically look like a lot of the time. But again, I figure if all of the tools in the main deck are here, including Block Dragon and the Adamancipators and Quackimira Guardian, then there's got to be some combination of things in the extra deck we can put on the board, you know, that'll be pretty scary. We're also rocking Super Polys, even though Mudragon and Garura aren't legal, we still have some pretty solid targets, namely the favorite hero Flame Wingman. We have Starving Venom, both versions here. You can Starving Venom Fusion Dragon into the OG Starving Venom. And then, of course, we also have the favorite hero Shining Flare Wingman to help counter those fusion decks as well. Although we also play a fair amount of fusion monsters, meaning we could even potentially make use of the favorite hero Shining Flare Wingman as a super poly target just to grab any face-up monster, you know, that's on the opponent's field. So again, this one I'm going to need to do some labbing with. I think I will actually end up trying Magnet Warrior in the Legend Anthology myself, but definitely going to need to lab out some combo lines for it to be at its best in the event. Still, it's got all the tools, so I imagine that you can do something pretty solid here. And that is going to do it. I think those are 5 of the best decks that you could build for the upcoming Legend Anthology event. If you've got any more suggestions, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. There were other decks that I took a look at, but some of them were hit a lot more heavily than others. Lunalight was the big one. You know, when I think of like anime decks that are good in events, Lunalight was my first go-to. And you can play Lunalight, but Gold Leo is limited, Liger Dancer is limited, and then the Masquerade, the continuous spell, is also limited. At least those 3, if not more. I saw those 3 were hit. So I don't know, that's why I didn't include it here. Like I said, I wanted to focus more on decks that came out fairly untouched, but you could definitely make an argument for something like Lunalight and probably other things. Again, feel free to let me know in the comments below which you're going to be rocking for the event. For now, though, that's all I got. Thanks again to our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers, and moreover, thank you to you as well for watching all the way to the end of the video. But now let's go to the outro so we can thank those very generous supporters. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.